Emma stared at the house. It was old, Victorian style, with an air of forgotten grandeur. The once majestic structure now stood as a silent testament to a bygone era. A wraparound porch hinted at lazy summer days, where one could sit and watch the world go by, perhaps with a glass of lemonade in hand. But the paint was peeling, revealing layers of history beneath. The lawn was overgrown, a wild tangle of nature reclaiming its space. Still, it was hers. Her grandmother had left it to her, a final gift that carried the weight of countless memories. Emma had always loved visiting her grandmother. Those visits were filled with warmth, laughter, and the smell of freshly baked cookies. The house had smelled of cinnamon and old books, a comforting blend that spoke of years gone by. Her grandmother had told her fascinating stories, tales that transported her to magical worlds. Stories of pirates and fairies, of adventures on the high seas and enchanted forests. She missed her terribly, the void left by her absence palpable. As Emma stepped inside, the air felt heavy, dusty, like it hadn't been lived in for decades. Each step she took stirred up tiny clouds of dust. The furniture, once elegant, was now covered in a thick layer of dust, as if time had stood still. The furniture was covered in white sheets, giving the room a ghostly appearance, like spectres from the past. Shadows danced in the corners, playing tricks on her eyes, making her question what was real. Emma took a deep breath. She was home now, in a place filled with echoes of her childhood. But something felt off. A shiver ran down her spine. Something wasn't right. The house, with all its memories, seemed to be hiding secrets, waiting to be uncovered. Days turned into weeks. Emma busied herself with unpacking. She found old photo albums filled with faded pictures of people she didn't recognize. Her grandmother had never spoken about her own childhood. One day, while exploring the attic, Emma felt a cold spot. Right in the center of the room, the air grew thick. It was hard to breathe. She turned to leave. That's when she saw it. A doll was sitting on a dusty old trunk. It was made of porcelain, dressed in a velvet dress. But it was the eyes that caught Emma's attention. They were a piercing green, almost glowing in the dim light. They seemed to follow her every move. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the doll was watching her. Her dreams were filled with the piercing green eyes. She tried to ignore it, told herself it was just her imagination. But then, strange things started happening. Whispers in the dead of night, objects moving on their own. Emma found herself constantly looking over her shoulder. One night, Emma woke to a cold hand on her face. She screamed, scrambling back against the headboard. There was nothing there. But on her nightstand, the doll sat watching her. Its green eyes gleamed. Emma couldn't take it anymore. The doll had to go. She grabbed it from the nightstand and stormed out of the house. She threw it in the garbage can, slamming the lid shut. She felt a sense of relief as she walked back inside. Finally, she could breathe again. The relief was short-lived. When Emma went downstairs the next morning, the doll was back, sitting on the kitchen table. Its green eyes seemed to mock her. Panic welled up inside Emma. She had thrown the doll away. She had seen the garbage truck collect the trash. How was it back? Section 5. A gift or a curse? Days turned into weeks and the strange occurrences continued. Pictures flew off the walls, lights flickered. Emma was living in a constant state of fear. She tried everything to get rid of the doll. She threw it in the river, buried it in the backyard, even tried to burn it, but it always came back. Each time it appeared in a different spot, always watching her with those unsettling green eyes. Emma was at her wit's end. She needed answers. She decided to visit the local library. Maybe she could find something about the doll's history. Section 6. The haunting begins. Hours were spent poring over dusty books. She found nothing about the doll itself, but she stumbled upon a section about cursed objects. Objects that held the spirit of someone who had died tragically. Emma's blood ran cold. Was that what she was dealing with? A cursed doll? She had to find a way to break the curse. The book mentioned a historian who specialized in the paranormal. Maybe he could help. Emma reached out to the historian. He agreed to meet her at the house. He listened patiently as Emma recounted the strange events. When she finished, the historian's face was grave. Section 7. Trapped in terror. The doll is a conduit, he explained, a link between this world and the next. It sounds like a spirit is using it to communicate, to make its presence known. Emma's heart sank. But who is it? And what does it want? The historian shook his head. That's what we need to find out. We need to communicate with the spirit, help it find peace. Emma felt a surge of hope. Maybe this could be resolved. Maybe she could finally rid herself of the doll and the terror that came with it. Section 8. Breaking the Curse. Following the historian's instructions, Emma set up a séance. Candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Emma sat across from the historian. The doll was placed in the center of the table. The air grew heavy. The temperature dropped. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. She closed her eyes and reached out, trying to connect with the spirit. Suddenly, the doll's head turned, its green eyes fixed on Emma. A raspy voice filled the room. "You can't get rid of me that easily," it hissed. "I'm here to stay." Section 9. The historian's warning. The historian quickly intervened, sensing the urgency of the situation. He spoke to the spirit with a calmness that belied the fear in his eyes, his voice steady despite the tremor in his heart. He learned that the spirit was a young girl who had died in the house many years ago, her life cut tragically short. She had loved the doll dearly. It was her most cherished possession, a symbol of her lost childhood. The spirit was attached to the doll and to the house. She felt abandoned, forgotten. Her sorrow echoed through the empty halls. The historian explained that Emma was her family, a descendant who had come to understand her pain, that she would never forget her. Emma had always felt a mysterious connection to the house. Now she knew why, that she would honor her memory. Emma vowed to keep the spirit's story alive, to ensure she was remembered. The spirit seemed to calm at that. The raspy voice softened, the tension in the air dissipating. The doll's head turned away from Emma as if acknowledging her promise. The candles flickered one last time and then went out, their light extinguished by an unseen hand. The room was plunged into darkness, but the historian felt a sense of peace, knowing the spirit had found solace. Section 10. Forever haunted. Emma never saw the spirit again. The ghostly figure that had once haunted her dreams and her waking moments had vanished, leaving behind an eerie silence, but she never forgot her either. The memory of the spirit lingered in her mind, a constant reminder of the supernatural encounter that had changed her life forever. She kept the doll in a place of honor in the house. It was more than just a toy. It was a symbol of the connection she felt with the spirit, a bond that transcended the boundaries of the living and the dead. A reminder of the young girl who had once called it home. The strange occurrences stopped. The house felt lighter, more at peace. The oppressive atmosphere that had once pervaded every corner of the house seemed to lift, replaced by a sense of calm and tranquility. But sometimes late at night, Emma would catch a glimpse of something out of the corner of her eye, a flicker of movement, a whisper of sound. It was as if the spirit was still trying to communicate with her, to remind her that she was never truly alone. She never saw the doll's eyes glow again. The eerie, supernatural light that had once emanated from the doll's eyes was gone, But the feeling of being watched remained. But she knew that the spirit was still there, watching over her, protecting her in its own way. It was a comforting yet unsettling presence, a reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead, a permanent part of her life. The doll and the spirit it represented had become an integral part of her existence, a constant companion in her journey through life. A chilling reminder that some childhood memories are best left undisturbed. The past, with all its mysteries and hauntings, had a way of lingering, forever etched in the corners of her mind.